Hi, Stacy Smith here with the Arkansas Department of Education, and this is a presentation on the new Arkansas Civics exam. This requirement came about because of legislation, and it requires that all high school students seeking a diploma must pass the Civics Naturalization Test with a score of at least 60%. This requirement goes into effect in the 2018-19 school year. Moving forward, we're going to refer to this assessment as the Arkansas Civics exam. Now, the department, we have tried to create an exam that will be easy for school districts to implement and use. We designed it on an online platform called Moodle. Most districts already use some type of digital platform for online learning. So your students nor your faculty should really have any trouble navigating the system. It is a multiple choice test with 100 questions. As your district is going through this presentation, I need you to begin thinking about who are we going to designate as our civics exam coordinator. This student will be responsible for registering students via the Cognos reports. At this point, we're going to go ahead and show you what the actual Arkansas Civics exam looks like for your students. And you can see here, this is the landing page, and on this landing page, students will actually log in. Once they log in, they'll get their username and their password, and again, that person who's going to be designated as your coordinator, they'll be the one to actually pass out the username and passwords to the students. So students log into the system, and it takes them again to the dashboard. On the dashboard, you'll actually have an introductory video for your students to watch. In this video, it tells your students what they're about to see, how the questions are going to be asked, what happens if they miss a question, and it gives them all the information they need to know in an easy-to-watch video. Now, how is the actual system designed? Well, we've taken the assessment, the 100 questions, and we've divided it into 9 sections. Now, the sections have to be taken in order. They may be taken in a single setting, or they may be taken over several days. Okay, it's really up to the district and how you decide to administer the assessment to your students. Again, there are 100 multiple choice questions, and if a student were to sit down and just take the test straight through, it would take approximately 60 to 90 minutes. Now, again, this is approximately because it all depends based on that student's information and their knowledge about the questions. If you look over here again, though, you can see the different sections of the assessment. It begins with American democracy in the very first section, moves on to systems of government. You can look down here and see there are other categories such as geography and symbols. So we've grouped the questions in likeness, so you have some commonality between the questions in those sections. So here, you can see this is section 2, and it's very clear within the system when you've moved from one section to another. In this section, you can see that it tells you there are actually 35 questions within this section of the test. Again, as a school, you can decide, hey guys, today we're going to go through section 1. You're going to answer these questions. Once you get to when you get to the section 2, you're going to log off, and then the next time you log back in, you can start at the same place you left off and begin going through those next questions. So let's look and see what a question looks like within the system. What is the economic system in the United States? So students would read the question, they would select the best answer. Over here you can tell that it tells you immediately if a student got the answer correct. You get your green check mark. Let's find out what happens if a student misses. So here's a question. Who is in charge of the executive branch? Here they selected the answer, Congress. Well, over here it will tell you immediately that your answer is incorrect, and it'll actually send you on a detour. So what is a detour? A detour actually takes you to support. All right, in that support, you'll either find an embedded video or an article that gives you information about the question you just missed. Okay, so here you can see you've got diagrams, you've got passages to read, again, to give you information and support about the question that you just missed. Once you've gone through your detour, it sends you back to the exact same question. Okay, so you have 2 chances to get the question right. If you get it right the first time, you just go on to the next question. If you miss it, it sends you on a detour. However, if you miss the question the second time, the answer is counted incorrect. It is counted wrong, and you just move on to the next question. Again, this is an online exam. It gives you immediate scoring and feedback. It also allows the school to pull reports so that they can see who has been successful and who needs additional support and time. Any teacher within the school system can administer the assessment. It doesn't have to be assigned to just a civics teacher. It can be any teacher within the school, however the school determines that they want to. It may be during an advisory period. It's really however the school determines they want to proceed. Accommodations. If a student has an IEP, a 504, or an LPAC, those same accommodations that are used on other class exams can be used on this assessment as well. We've built in some accommodations within the system for all students. Expandable passages, Zoom, increase and decrease in text size and graphics, a line reader, and we also have text-to-speech. So within the system, the text itself can be read, the multiple choice questions, the questions themselves, all can be read to the student. So what about those students that, just as good teachers, you provide additional support when needed for those students in your classroom? Can you do that on this assessment? Well, what we want to encourage schools is we want you to do what good teachers do. If you know that there's a student in your classroom that you generally provide additional support to, whether it's giving them extended time, whether it's putting them in a smaller group to take the assessment, we would encourage you to do the same thing for this. We want our kids to be successful, and we want you to do what outstanding educators all over the state do to support our students. So what is the expectation for this assessment moving forward? The expectation is that all students are going to pass this exam and that it's not going to interfere with any student not getting their diploma, because all students are going to pass. That's the expectation. This is an exam of basic facts, and it's not a secret what's on this test. You can Google naturalization test, and it takes you exactly to the test and to the questions. This is not a secret. Okay, we expect all students to be able to pass this assessment. Now, that may require additional support from your school. And when we talk about additional support, you may have to have study sessions. You may have to pull kids to the side to say, hey, it looks like we're struggling with this. What can we do to make sure that the next time you take it, that you do well on it? But again, you have multiple opportunities for your students to take the same exam over and over again until they are successful with a 60% or better. Be smart about this in your schools. Think about how can you pull this information in without, taking away from the content that's being delivered in your classroom. Think about this as bell ringers. Think about this in announcements. How can we pull up some of these basic facts that our kids have already had in past classes and make it where they're hearing it again, they've got their refresher and those supports, and it's not a huge hurdle to overcome. So how is this being rolled out? We're asking school districts this year in 2017-18 that choose to go ahead and administer the assessment to think about enrolling their current juniors, because those are the students that will be required to have it for graduation. Okay, those are your kids who are graduating in 18-19 that have to have this as a requirement. So your current juniors, not your students who are seniors this year, your current juniors. Another group you may consider going ahead and administering the test would be those kids who have had civics this year. So whether they had civics in the fall or they're currently enrolled in a civics course, you may want to go ahead and enroll those students in the exam. However, if you enroll them now, the expectation is that they are going to have successfully completed the assessment by the end of the year. So anyone you put into it, the expectation is they are going to have this successfully completed by the end of the school year. All right, so 2018-19. Again, enrolling students who are currently enrolled in a civics class in the fall or the spring, go ahead and enroll them in the assessment so that they can take the assessment. Or any junior or senior who has not met the requirement for 18-19. Again, giving it to those juniors so that they can get that requirement out of the way. And then again, hitting any of those kids who are seniors who have not met the requirement for their graduation. So let me roll over some general questions that we're getting. Do we have to use the online system? And the answer is yes. We want you to use the online system. We've built the system so that it's pulling those cognition reports and that we can upload that information. This will then go into the try-in transcript, which will assist school counselors It will assist students who actually move from one district to another. It'll be easy for districts to look to see who has met the requirement and who has not. So yes, please use the assessment system, the online system. So this brings to this question that we're getting. What if we've already administered a paper test to our students already? That's okay. If you've already administered a paper test, you've got to do two things. One, you have to determine that the test you administered is the same questions that is on the Arkansas Civics exam. And again, if you Googled naturalization test and you pulled the 100 questions off of online, you most likely had the same question. So you need to determine that it's the same test. Two, you are going to have to manually enter your students' information and that they've passed the assessment within the online system. Now, whoever is your coordinator from the district, they're going to actually have information within the online platform that tells them how to go in and manually enter that information. So those students don't have to retake the test, but you will have to manually enter that information that the student who took the test and if they passed it or not. So yes, you can have that test count. What if a student doesn't have an IEP? Can I provide accommodations? Okay, we talked about this one earlier. The driving question here is, what do you normally do every day for that student, that specific student taking an assessment in your class? If you provide a natural accommodation for that student regularly, then you would do so here. Do students in home or private school have to take the exam? They do not fall under the same guidelines for an Arkansas high school diploma. Okay, this is for our students seeking an Arkansas high school diploma and the requirements set forth in legislation for that. So they do not fall under that. However, if they are seeking a GED, they would have to pass the exam, and we have worked with adult education, and they have access to the same platform that your students do. Can students utilize scratch paper during the exam? Yes, they may utilize scratch paper. They may want to take notes when they're on a detour. Can a teacher help students answer questions during the exam? No, a teacher cannot help a student answer questions during the exam. Now, can they assist a student in a detour? Can they assist a student navigating through the system? Yes. But can you give a student an answer during the test? No, you cannot. And the last question, does the exam have to be taken during the school day? And the answer to that question is yes, it does need to be taken during the school day. So what are the next steps for districts moving forward? One, you have to designate a civics exam coordinator. Okay, you're going to have this person for each building that has 9 through 12. So if there are students taking the exam in a specific building, they need to have a coordinator. Okay, this person is going to be responsible for registering the students via the Cognos reports and ensuring test administration, and also providing any support to teachers administering the exam. We will be sending out a Google form to district testing coordinators for them to be able to put in who the coordinator is for this exam. Other resources can be found on the arkansased.gov site. Search Arkansas Civics Exam and it'll take you to additional resources, the registration portal, and paper copies of the test. If you need specific help and support, please feel free to contact Ernie Huff with the Arkansas Department of Education about specific policy questions or legislation questions about the assessment. If you have questions specific to the portal itself, the online testing system, we're going to ask that you email systemsupport@teamdigital.org to get specific help answering those questions. Once you put who your designated civics coordinator is, that person will be receiving all the information they need to know how to register students within your district. So it's important to designate who that person is. We appreciate you watching this presentation, and we hope again that the expectation is that all students will pass the exam and that this is not a big hurdle for them to overcome. Thank you.